Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strucco. He is Adam Eaton. Welcome into Sons of UCF Live. Happy homecoming, Adam. Where's my duck?
Oh my goodness, is that a
No,
real?
that's an old duck. That's an old. It's a real duck.
Earned
It's a
or bought?
2000. No, it was a gift. No, not no.
Did you were you a Spirit Splash guy during your period of time at UCF?
No, I think that occurred after my time.
Oh,
I don't know when that started, but I don't remember it.
Sorry,
but I'm happy.
Yikes.
I'm happy about that.
I predate the duck. There were no ducks during my era of Spirit Splash. I don't know when that started, but I predate the duck. I didn't think
about homecoming in general? I mean, you're back and forth to this campus, back and forth. Does it feel different now?
as we speak? I don't really know. Yeah, it's hard. I never really. I appreciate like people who are coming. Is that the thing though? Is like you're supposed to come back for this game because I think a lot of people come back for a lot of games. So yeah, I think it's good if you get some former players back and people make their one year sojourn to campus. If this is the time, I'm okay with it. But it doesn't mean anything more to me than any other game we play this year.
When you lived out west, what was the longest stretch of time between UCF games you attended in the bounce house?
4 years. I didn't attend a single game during I don't think I attended a game in 2015. And so
well,
16,
count yourself.
I'm not the only one, by the way. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that's 5, right? 20 was COVID. So probably 6. I probably went a good 6 years without a bounce house experience. Yeah.
Wow. 17, 18.
Yeah. Big ones. Yeah. No, nowhere near bounce house, nowhere near Livermore, California. Just FYI.
But you are expected in the bounce house to catch this scintillating 1:00 matchup on Saturday on TNT between West Virginia and UCF. Knights with 3 straight losses, 0-3. Something's got to give. West Virginia 0-3 as well. Look at this matchup now. It's part of our One Big Thing and Andrew Cherico.
One Big Thing.
After a strong 3-0 start to the season, UCF has dropped 3 in a row to begin Big 12 play. Each of the losses have come in relatively respectable fashion, most of them due to self-inflicted penalties, especially late in the game. This team has shown flashes of success, often for 3 quarters, but not 4. For Coach Frost, he knows his team can be good, but consistency needs to follow.
Well, I think that's the big thing right now is we're really good sometimes. We throw to the right guy sometimes. We block really well sometimes. We run the route precisely sometimes, and we catch it sometimes. And defensively was good, but we busted a couple coverages, so we're in the right coverage sometimes. And that needs to be most of the time or all the time, and then we become really good. But again, that's a process.
For the quarterbacks, the most recent injury report released on Wednesday night listed Cam Fancher as out, leaving the door open for Taven Jackson to make another start, as the Knights will not only have an opportunity to win their first conference game of the season, but earn their first conference win in October since joining the Big 12 for a homecoming kickoff against West Virginia. And until next time, I'm Andrew Cherico for the Sons of UCF.
As I have shared with you, that is my favorite Scott Frost soundbite ever. I love that. I think that spells out everything. How about that one media availability with Scott Frost during the week? Monday, he had his radio show on Wednesday night. Very coy, right? Doesn't mention anything about Cam Fancher. He got a lot of action and a lot of plays on Saturday at Cincinnati. Maybe he took some knocks during that game, but we won't know until post-game on Saturday what happened if we get much of an explanation at all.
Yeah, the TV copy showed him a few times he was slow to get up, right? I think 49 pass attempts, 20 carries. I think Frost said in the presser, they only called 4 or 5 design runs. So the other 15 were him kind of his own devices there. He took a lot of hits. So it is surprising to see him out. Obviously, Taven Jackson not listed on the injury report. So one would assume he's good to go. But Trace, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Davy Belfort time?
Oh.
I'm thinking, I don't know. I got a feeling. I think goal number 10 will be back out on the field for UCF this Saturday. I don't know. Call me silly.
Well, how about it? He was listed as QB2 against Cincinnati, right? And we've seen Taven Jackson leave games with injury, and that seems to be Davy Belfort in a prime position there. Let's talk about this injury report a little bit more. We have already known Horace Lockett out for the year, but Sincere Edwards as well. And UCF has already had issues along the offensive line, and they're losing veteran Paul Rubelt as well, listed, well, questionable. So could play, but you do wonder whether he might get into action.
Yeah, Sincere Edwards posting on his Instagram a photograph of him with his leg bandaged up and said surgery complete. So one has to assume he's going to be out for a significant period of time. Paul Rubelt, again, unknown, questionable. He left that game. Trace looked like a bit of a lower leg injury, if you could tell in the TV copy. Obviously, not a ligament you want to hurt if you're an offensive lineman, particularly if you're 6'9", 6'10", and have to bend a lot. So I'll be curious to see if Rubelt is able to give it a go there. Certainly, the Knights O-line has been through a lot, and so a change out of the starting tackle, I think, is probably not optimal for UCF. But Coach Frost says it's always next man up. Owen Spell came in to spell Rubelt in the game. I thought he played okay. I'm not an O-line guru, but looked like he played pretty well in the snaps he had there. So we'll see with both those guys on Saturday who comes in there, who plays. But Rubelt's, he looked like he dinged up that lower leg pretty good.
So injuries are starting to mount here, right? And we talked all offseason and throughout this season whether the Knights had enough depth, enough quality Big 12 depth, 3-3 through 6-0-3 in the Big 12, and you've got that second half of the schedule. Your depth really being tested now.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've talked all season, right? Next man up mentality at this point. And we've all said it's going to be a rebuild, and, you know, who's going to kind of step in and fill the shoes. I think that D-line already getting thinner now with Sincere Edwards and Horace Lockett out. So Rodney Laura continues to get some playing time. RJ Jackson will get some playing time. Derek LeBlanc was on the field against Cincinnati. That's a name a lot of Knight fans have heard a lot about. Came back to UCF after some time at Oklahoma. So it'll be interesting to see who kind of steps in, steps up. But this is where opportunity is born, Trace. This is where you have a chance if you're on that too deep, if you're on that fringe too deep, and you get a chance to get your helmet on in the game. This is where opportunity is born for the Knights. So let's see who, if anybody, can kind of step in. And you're at a point in the season now where you start to think about, all right, who's coming back? Who's here for next year? Do you get younger guys some reps? So this could be a golden opportunity for somebody to step in on Saturday and have their moment.
We've talked all season about the missed opportunities the Knights have had. No greater example of that than at Cincinnati. 90 plays, the ball for 40 minutes. It's just unbelievable, those, right? And the number of penalties. You're in conversation with UCF Athletics Hall of Famer Latavius Murray every week as part of the Knights 24/7 coverage. And this week he spoke to you about how the Knights might go about eliminating penalties.
Obviously, look, you want to give that player a chance, right? Regardless of what position. Right. You don't want to be so, critical right away. But I think, like, over time, like if the person is making the same mistake, right, that's shame on coaches, right, to continue to trust this player and continue to keep him in. And again, I'm talking at any position at that point. Right. So you can't keep asking a player to do something, do something different. And he's showing you the same thing. And so shame on the coach if that is the case. And so I'm a fan of next man up mentality, just because if you continue to play a certain way or be handsy or, have penalties, can be trusted.
Be handsy. I didn't have that as part of the conversation tonight. 9 false starts over the last 2 games on this Knights team. And again, Paul Rubelt listed as questionable. Doesn't mean he won't play, but you're going to see some other guys in there, and they've been rotating guys. There are a lot of guys who've seen action along the offensive line over these first 6.
Yeah, Latavius goes on to talk about, drills and things. He harkens back to the GOL days where you had to run laps if you had penalties. So he talks a little bit more in depth about how to get the penalties out there. Check that out at Knights247.com. And a new feature, Trace, on this video. We started something new with Latavius. Ask Latavius. Life advice with Latavius Murray, first edition this week on there. So make sure you're on Knights 247 to check that out. But here's the problem, Trace. Big 12 teams are tough enough to play as it is, right? UCF has an opponent across the line of scrimmage every week that they have to try to bow up and try to beat. UCF, and probably no team in the country, is good enough to beat the team across the line of scrimmage and themselves. And that's what UCF's doing. They're playing against the team across the line of scrimmage. They're playing against themselves. They can't continue to do that. That's not a recipe for success. And I think Scott Frost said it best on his pressers this week is penalties are one thing. It's when these are occurring. It's mental lapses in key moments where you have momentum, where you have the opportunity to do something. A false start on, 2nd and 3 at a 0-0 game in the second quarter probably isn't going to matter much in the grand scheme of things. But UCF finds themselves in these positions at the crucial times. It seems like when their composure is required the most, that's when they have it the least. And I think that's the part where I don't know how, as a coach, you kind of drill that into your team. Frost keeps telling us these guys are young, and candidly, it's an immature team just in terms of experience. But at some point, you've got to find guys who are ready to handle the moment, because it seems like when that moment happens, more times than not, UCF is not prepared to do the thing they have to do the most, which is just execute a single play at that point.
Do you buy into the inexperience, or is this a little just not good enough?
Probably a little bit of both, right? Like, I mean, I hate to sit the fence on this one, but I do think there are certainly probably guys in this team that, you know, if Frost had his way, perhaps they wouldn't be playing as much of a role as they are. And obviously, guys who leave the portal, leave that school, go to this school or leave that school for a reason. So, but I also do think there's, what is it, 63 this week? Is it 68, 69 new players? I forget how many we're on this week, but it takes time for those guys to gel together. And West Virginia's got the same thing happening with their O-line as well. And so I think it just takes time for guys to gel together. But there's probably a mixture of just inexperience, not playing as a unit much, and also, you know, maybe just maybe they're up a weight class and they're not quite ready for that level of work.
And again, these 3 games, I mean, I think going into the season with Cincinnati's head coach, Scott Satterfield, on a hot seat of sorts, right? I didn't expect as much from Cincinnati, but you looked at that as a possible road win. But Kansas State, you thought really that those wouldn't be wins. If they had played a little bit better, there's probably a 4th win in there. I don't want to go crazy here and say 5-1 or 6-0. There's probably one other win in there if they just played a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's probably the frustrating thing for Knights fans is I think coming into the season, everyone does the thing where they go win, loss, right? And I think the games UCF lost, I think most people were probably not surprised to see they lost those games or they didn't come out on top. But the challenge is they were in that Kansas game. That's a game where you could have won it. So once you're there and you're on the doorstep, go finish the deal. And obviously UCF didn't do that. I think the second thing that's frustrating, Trace, is what happened to UCF fast? Where did that go? I mean, this is UCF feeble, right? This is
fizzled
UCF,
is my word. Fizzled.
UCF futility. I mean, at this point, we're not UCF fast, and so I think if you saw that the offense kind of continuing to evolve and develop, and you could see the pathways about how this team is going to be, potentially winning ball games, maybe you feel differently about that. But you just, I mean, 20, and 11 so far in Big 12 play, just isn't going to cut it, Trace. And I think that's the part is you have these opportunities. And a golden one on Saturday. I'm going to ask you this question. I think you know the answer, but I'll ask you on the spot. UCF favored in this game. How many more games this year are they going to be favored in? Oklahoma State?
Well, if they lose this game, I would think Oklahoma State, there is a certain space game magic. We don't know how the teams look going into that a couple weeks out still. Certainly not on the road at Baylor, Texas Tech, or BYU. I wouldn't have favored in any of those.
Makes Saturday a great opportunity, right? You're at home, homecoming, a team that your favorite Vegas people think you're going to win this one. So it makes for a great opportunity for the Knights to potentially, hopefully get one on the board. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And this team lost handedly to Kansas. And, UCF played competitively against Kansas, led that game, jumped out early in that game. So there is opportunity here. What if we talked a lot about grading the players? We did that on Around the Kingdom. Certainly a device of having a show every week as you look at the grades after 3 games and after 6 games, but we haven't spent a lot of time talking about grading of the coaching staff. I've enjoyed the play calling from Scott Frost. I just don't think he has all of the players that he wants to have, obviously.
Yeah, I think North Carolina was a game where I think he called a great game in that particular game. And I think he's had moments, he's had plays, but for some reason that they're just not coming to fruition. And I think there's, is it execution? Is it injuries? I think there's a lot of stuff to be had there. I think, again, he can get right on Saturday against a team that's coming to the bounce house also, a little bit behind. So we'll see how that all shakes out on Saturday.
Homecoming Saturday, of course, Hall of Fame ceremonies on Friday. Mike Sims Walker, Cornell Green, Dexter Lyons, Ariel Scott, Miriam Metzkes-Ochoa, and Alex Haynes. We welcome in 2025. Is it, Alex? Is it Hall of Fame inductee? Are you already in? Do you have to go to the ceremony? When is it official?
I guess it'll be official tomorrow night. We have a ceremony.
Congratulations to you.
7:00.
Well deserved. And how special was it to receive that news?
It was very special. It was just a reflection on some of the hard work and dedication and consistency that I had while I was playing on the field. And also just a great moment to share with my teammates and coaches and stuff. And it was actually sort of a bigger deal because, it's been about 20 years since I've stepped foot on the field. So to be remembered in that type of way, I thought was very memorable.
There's a media availability beforehand. At some point, somebody's going to ask you, 20 some odd years ago, would you have ever thought that day would come? What were you really thinking about as you set foot on the UCF campus? It certainly wasn't projecting out to you being in a Hall of Fame.
Well, no, well, I mean, as a football player, you try to always go and strive to be the best player you could be. So if that's being in the Hall of Fame or being all conference or being all American, those are individual goals that you always strive to be. Now, accomplishing is a whole nother story. So that was, in my opinion, I came to be a competitor. During the recruiting process, what we spoke about a lot was Dante Culpepper leaving a legacy. Who was going to be the next player on offense to pick up that legacy and push it forward for the next 4 or 5 years until the next player comes along.
Alex, I know you and I have talked a little bit about this off air a ton, but I know this is special to you for another reason. I feel like your time period, that early 2000s, those MAC years, have kind of gotten forgotten by some people. How much does this mean, not just for you, but for all those guys you played with kind of in that early 2000s that maybe people have forgotten about or don't remember those MAC years as well?
I think it's a big deal for us because our era was sort of, I don't want to say forgotten, but sort of lost in the shuffle because as soon as the switch over from Coach Cruz to O'Leary came, we had the 1 year that impacted us that was more of a growing year. But after that year, the university really took off. And when it took off, conference championship, first conference championship bowl game, and then not too far off that, a national championship, and also a BCS win between that. So it really just took off, and I just think they didn't have time to really recognize those guys because the compliments kept rolling in the door back to back to back over, 10 to 15 year span.
When you got that call from Terry Mahajer after you hung up, who's the first teammate you called?
First teammate I called, oh, man, that's a good one. I think I talked to a guy. I think I talked to Brian Barrington and told him. Actually, it was Christy Belden, our academic advisor, and she was looking. She's like, I think that I think Mike's going in too. He said he got some news that he was been looking for, and it cheered him up. So I think I spoke with Christy Belden. She's somebody who's really supported us through the process on and off the field, and spent a lot of time with us, making sure we graduate, make sure we being student athletes, not just athletes.
When you look through the record books, you'll still find your name in some of those top 10s. Is there a particular record that you accomplished, a mark, a score that stands with you to this day?
I guess having the 4 touchdowns at Tulane was one of the big memories. Just getting ready for the speech tomorrow and reflecting. It's been a while since I've been on campus, so it's a lot of stuff to have to go back to. I think one thing was big for me was for a while. I think the last rusher we had that was a 1,000-yard rusher was Marquette Smith, and then in 2002 I capped 1,000 yards, and it was very challenging going into it. Had rolled my ankle. We only had about 3 games to go, and probably needed about 150 yards each game. So it wasn't a record, but it was a milestone for our team because in the Coach Cruz coaching era, I think that was the first 1,000-yard rusher he had with him being head coach.
What goes into preparing a speech? Do they give you have X amount of minutes to do this?
Yeah.
What's the preparation for this?
There is a 6-minute threshold for speaking because
are they gonna play you off if you go 7 minutes? Is there some music that comes in?
If it's good, I think you'll be fine. I think the biggest challenge is this: how do you squeeze 5 years of I spent 5 redshirt to play for 5 years and then another 15, 20 on top of it into 5 minutes? How do you thank all the people?
It's unfair.
Yeah.
You should have as much time as you want.
How do you thank all the people that's behind the scenes? How do you, let them know that, you appreciate everything they did? How do you thank your teammates? How do you thank your coaches? How do you thank the nation? You know what I'm saying? And all the supporters that, showed up to games, rain. I'm going to say snow because we went to the mat for a little bit. But sunshine, So the biggest challenge is, just to, really don't drift off into stuff, just really keep some key points, hit on some things that I think, alumni like yourself, Sons of Knights like yourself want to hear. You want to hear about the story of I think you want to hear that we went from independent conference to the MAC. What was the transition like? Then from there, the transition to Georgia League. A lot of people have not heard that story and would like to hear that story. Going from the front of the campus at the Wayne Dents building where we had the weight room, the locker room, the academic office, study hall, and probably that AD was up there too, to transitioning back to Wayne Dents, where there was nothing back there. And that was really the first building back there other than the arena. And that's what kicked off the facilities, the growth, and the start of the university. So I think that's something that, people like, our age would want to hear.
All right, Alex, I want to keep you sharp. I know you got a speech. Well, I did some research on your career. So I got some trivia for you, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Do you know what your most number of rushing yards in one game was? What was your highest rushing total in one game? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but I might could think of the game.
Okay.
Was it Miami, Ohio?
It is not Miami, Ohio.
Oh, man.
Scribble that. Write that into the margins of the speech.
October 2003 against Buffalo, you had 30 carries, 165 yards.
Wow.
That's the most number of yards you had. Alex Haynes, how many receiving touchdowns did you have at UCF?
Oh, man, probably about 5?
A little lower than 5.
Okay.
You have one receiving touchdown in your career. I guess you don't know what game that is. It's actually a big game too.
A big game?
Yeah.
Big game, I'll probably say Syracuse or Arkansas.
2002 at Marshall, the 26-21 loss. You caught a touchdown pass from Ryan Schneider.
You know what? That's a good one because that was that forward pitch that we ran. It is considered a pass.
It's a pass. I got the stats. All right, last one for you. How many multi-touchdown games do you have? You referenced obviously the Tulane, which is the one you're known for, 4 touchdowns. How many multi-touchdown games did you have at UCF?
I have no idea. Well, I guess I'd say Marshall was one of them because I ran a touchdown and caught a pass there.
I kind of gave you that cheat one.
Okay. Fair. I really don't know. I can't.
All right. You had 6. Tulane in 2001, you had 4. Akron in 2001, you had 3 in that game. 2002, you had 2 against Miami, Ohio. In 2004, you had 2 against Buffalo and 2 against Kent State. So if you want to throw those in there, feel free to
send me those on the text.
I got you.
Send me some good stuff on the text. I could use it.
I'm curious. I had a chance to talk to you and your son recently. I know your son's going to be on campus with you and be a part of the festivities. I asked him if he thought you would cry during your Hall of Fame speech, and he said, "quote I've never seen that man cry." So, are we getting any tears from Alex Haynes? Are the emotions getting there from you yet?
You know what? I don't want to say I won't cry. Because my wife asked me what I was going to talk about, and it gets a little emotional when you hear, when you're 43 years old now, you go back to reflect where you were and where you are today and the people that helped you. I know as football players, of course, you're blessed with talent from God, but there's certain people that keep you on track, certain people that make sure you're reaching your goals, that challenge you, that motivate you and encourage you. And you spend a lot of times with these people behind the scenes, trainers, people in the cafeteria, grounds crew, academic advisors, and people with support staff of the team, volunteers and graduate assistants. So I think it can get. I'm gonna try to keep it together though. I promise you I will, but I can't guarantee it.
Alex, I asked you who you called. I'm curious who's called you that's kind of meant the most to you. Who have you heard from either in the UCF family, the UCF community, to congratulate you that's kind of meant the most to you?
You know what? I'm gonna go with Coach O'Leary. Coach O'Leary called me. And when he called me, he was just, letting me know about, that he respected me as a person and as a player and respected what I did. Being one of the older guys that could have went to the draft and stuck around to, help the program move forward because I was a key component in us building this thing. Atari was the senior on defense. I was a senior on offense, and we had been in the program for a while, and he felt like we was the guys who had the leadership to hold a lot of things together through the transition and him implementing, his the way he wanted to do things. So it was a big call from him. It was actually sort of funny, just the way some of the stuff he said, but it was actually a good call. And then that's probably the most memorable one though.
I'm curious. What do you call him, George? Do you call him Coach? What do you call him?
I'll call him Coach O'Leary. I don't think I ever called him George before, but when he got on the phone, he's like, hey, like Alex Haynes, this is George O'Leary, and I just want to let you know that, I've always had respect for you. It's better, I always told myself it's better to be respected than liked. And you know what? I surely respect you, and I really appreciate everything that you did for this university. You should have been in the Hall of Fame. It was just a good call, man, just reassuring and, that a lot of people proud of me. I've heard from multiple alumni, friends and family, and a lot of people said they would be there tomorrow night to come support me. So
I hope he likes you as much as respects you. Preview the red carpet. How spiffy are you? What's the outfit look like?
I think I was looking at trying to do something different, but I was trying to stick to the school colors. So I'm gonna just do a black suit, white button-up shirt, and a gold tie. How about that?
Can't go wrong with the gold.
I wanted to really represent, the school colors. I didn't really want to go too far off of it and go on the wild side. So I said, let me stick to the traditional stuff.
Alex Haynes, thank you for the legacy and all you have done for UCF athletics and UCF football. Congratulations on your Hall of Fame induction.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you out there on Friday. Thanks, Alex Haynes. Part of that class, I remember when you and Mike interviewed George O'Leary. And congratulations on being in the Hall of Fame. I'm in a lot of halls of fame.
I just love the story. I do think his era is kind of criminally underrated in terms of what they brought to UCF, and to hear him kind of talk a little bit about, being how much pride him and that group take in sort of being part of the building blocks of getting UCF to where it is now too. And so just it's high time he's got in the Hall of Fame. Obviously one of the best to do it. Also, he didn't mention it. He kind of did, but kind of didn't. Is that was an era for those who don't recall. Mike Kruzek was a guy who wanted to air it out. Like he was a guy who wanted to throw the ball a ton. So to have 1,000 yards as a runner in that Kruzek style offense was certainly a mark to be had too. And Alex definitely left his mark, and really happy for him. His family, his son's going to be there. His son's also kind of a big time recruit, so I think he'll be actually at the game on an official visit as well too. So a big weekend for the Haynes family.
It's funny as time passes and you forget the milestones and the records, right? You were stumping him on several of those. I find that even with our shows, right? Do you remember when we had so-and-so as a guest? I'm sorry, what week was that? What show was that? When you start to do so many things, you forget a little bit, but congratulations to him and this 2025 class. Now, we talked earlier about 0-3 West Virginia, 0-3 UCF. That is not your marquee matchup on TNT on Saturday. There are other higher profile games in the Big 12. We turn now to Jeff Allen.
This is the second of 4 consecutive weeks where all games are on Saturday in the Big 12, with 12 of the 16 teams in action. On the bye this week are Colorado, Iowa State, Kansas, and Kansas State. On the gridiron, here is this week's schedule. Arizona is at Houston in the Little Noon kickoff on FS1. TCU hosts Baylor, also kicking at noon on ESPN2. Our Knights try to snap their 3-game losing streak as they entertain West Virginia. That's at 1 o'clock on TNT if you can't make the game at the Bounce House. Number 7, Texas Tech battles Arizona State at 4 o'clock on Fox. Number 23, Utah, and number 15, BYU square off as ranked foes in the Holy War at 8 o'clock on Fox. And number 24, Cincinnati travels to Oklahoma State. That'll be at 8 o'clock on ESPN2. With your Big 12 Minute, I'm Jeff Allen.
No offense to UCF West Virginia, but Utah and BYU, that is a must-watch.
I think he dropped a Little Noon kickoff in there. I think that's what he called something in there. That was a sly one by Jeff Allen.
Of course, you can get fresh content every week on the 365 Sports newsletter, and you're dropping in the Suns content every week.
Yeah, you can find some stuff there again every Wednesday in your inbox. Go to 365sports.video. Our next guest actually also contributes to the newsletter as well, too. So if you want a bunch of content, a bunch of really good stuff on there, again, 365sports.video. Subscribe every Wednesday morning. Poof. In your inbox.
Poof. Of course, West Virginia head coach Rich Rodriguez, just like UCF head coach Scott Frost, returning to where they had once coached. We caught up with him at Big 12 Media Days to reflect on Scott Frost. Scott Frost, both you and Coach Frost returning.
Yeah, how about that?
Is there a piece of advice that you've been given that you think might work for Coach Frost?
I should ask him that. I mean, Scott and I both kind of made a similar path, and I'm sure he'll tell you the same thing. It usually doesn't happen this way. Usually you never go back to your original place or what have you, and there's a lot of things got to fall in place right at the same time. whether it's fate or destiny, I don't know. But, for me, it was 18 years, and it happened. For Scott, it wasn't quite that long. But he's a great football coach and a great person, and I wish they didn't hire him. I wish they had hired somebody crappy, you know what I mean? But he'll do a great job there, and they'll have a good football team.
You think of it as a sequel of sorts or a new beginning?
I think it's, I try not to be too nostalgic because it's, so long ago, and I'm a better coach than I was then. I better be, right? And things have changed. The dynamic's different now than it was back then. But at the same time, I understand West Virginia, and there's no school that I could go to where I know where all the bodies are buried and the traps are laid. I know where everything and everybody is in the state of West Virginia. I know how important it is, and it didn't take me, months to learn the lay of the land. It took me minutes. So that for me, that's the only school in the country I could go to, and that could have that kind of dynamic.
Let's talk about some of those buried bodies with Justin Coos Walker, host of Coos' Corner coverage of West Virginia. Welcome in to Sons of UCF Live, Justin.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
UCF, we talk all the time that officially Sports Information says 63 new players, but every week it's a different number. You'll hear 70, 69. Every week somebody rolls out a different number. What is the official, as best you know, number of new players that Coach Rodriguez is dealing with here on this West Virginia roster?
81 is the number that I
81.
81. That includes obviously true freshmen, and I think about 50. I'm sorry. I think it's 61 transfers and 20 freshmen, I believe, is the number, but it's 81 new players. I do know that.
Well, there's great similarity between the two programs this season because if you watched off the top, we're talking about who's going to be the Knights quarterback. It's been a revolving door, often because of injuries, and that seems similar at West Virginia. What is the situation at quarterback, as best you know, going into this week's game?
Well, the original starter who started most of the games early in the season, Nico Markiel, is out for the season with a foot injury. His backup, Jalen Henderson, who's also a senior, transferred in from Texas A&M. He is out for this game and was out the last game. It is now down to a redshirt freshman named Khalil Wilkins, who played against BYU 2 weeks ago, and a true freshman named Scotty Fox, who has seen some action this year, who they're really high on, but he is a true freshman. So one of those, I look for both guys to actually play. Coach Rod has been playing multiple quarterbacks in every game this year so far. I don't look for that to be any different. He's trying to find, he's waiting for somebody to take the reins and run with it. So far, nobody has done that, but I expect to see both young quarterbacks. My guess is that Khalil Wilkins will likely get to start on Saturday in Orlando. Just
to be clear, you're out of eligibility. They can't turn to you at any point.
I am out of eligibility, unfortunately, and probably would not hold up. I think I'd be on IR after one hit. So I'm not sure I'd be the right pick.
Coos, you and I had a chance to talk this week about this game as well. And one thing you were telling me is kind of the struggles that West Virginia's had on the O-line. You and I were joking that this game's kind of like the Spider-Man meme, right? It feels like both teams are pointing back at each other. Mm-hmm. Kind of share a little bit more with us about the struggles that West Virginia's had on offense, particularly as it relates to the O-line.
Yeah, I mean, the entire West Virginia's entire offensive line from last year left either by a graduation or the portal, after the coaching change, obviously. So it's an entirely rebuilt offensive line from we have two guys up front who were on the team last year but had very little experience. All the other three starters are all transfers in from other programs. One has a lot of experience, but it was at the G5 level. The other two guys were backups at other Power 4 schools who didn't play a ton. So they're just trying to gel this group together, man. And it's so far it's been a struggle, and they're struggling to get push up front. They're struggling in the run game, struggling in the pass game. Not all on the O-line, but they've been a huge part of it. Yeah, they're just trying to piece together an O-line, just like you guys are dealing with at UCF. It's just tough, man, because those guys just have not played together enough.
Yeah, I know quarterback, you mentioned the injuries there, but also injuries at skill position players that will impact West Virginia. Who are some names that we'll see in the field on Saturday that you think have the potential to make some big plays for West Virginia on offense?
The first one is Cam Vaughn. He's likely our best wide receiver for West Virginia. He came over with Rich Rod from Jacksonville State. He's only a sophomore, but he's already a Biletnikoff Award preseason watch list guy. He's that talented. Unfortunately, the number 2 receiver, Jaden Bray, got hurt, so now teams are double teaming Cam Vaughn, and nobody else has stepped up to take some of that pressure off of him. I would also be on the lookout for running back Dior Hubbard, who is 3rd or 4th string. I'm not sure exactly where he falls, but because of injuries to Jaheim White and Ty Edwards, he's having to step up and be the next guy in line. So hopefully Sorry, that comment got me sidetracked, man. I like it.
Well, Patrick has a tendency of doing
Yeah,
that.
that's okay. But no, it's Dior Hubbard's a running. He's very young, very talented, but he doesn't have a whole lot of experience. But so I would say Dior Hubbard at running back and then Cam Vaughn at wide receiver are the two that I would be on the lookout for to hopefully have a big day for the Mountaineers.
Well, surely things must be better on the defensive side of the ball.
A little bit. First 3 games of the season, absolutely it was better. But at about halftime of the Kansas game, everything seemed to flip, and they have struggled. They've had tackling issues. They've had coverage issues. Have not gotten as much pressure on the quarterback the last couple of weeks as they were earlier in the season. Hopefully that can get fixed this week. We have a lot of confidence in our D coordinator, Zach Alley, who came over from Oklahoma. I think the offense wasn't helping them out. There was no complimentary football being played. So, I think some of the struggles on defense could potentially be attributed to the offensive struggles, and they were just on the field way too much. And I think that might have caught up to them. But after a bye week now, hopefully they will be refreshed and rested and ready to go. We'll see. But they are, found out last night that with the initial availability report that starting nose tackle Hammond Russell, the 4th, is doubtful for the game. So injuries are also plaguing the defense now as well, unfortunately.
What do you think of these injury reports? I kind of like them so far. I like knowing something.
Well, it gives us something to write about, talk about, for one thing. But yeah, it's good as fans to know, like, at least have an idea, because Scott Frost, Coach Rodriguez, neither one of them are going to share a ton of information. So this is probably the only way we're going to get it. And thanks to Brett Yormark and his team, I guess, for forcing it on them. But I like having it. It's kind of good to know who's going to be there and who's not.
There's a section of every fan base that gets grumpy after every loss, and it's happening in Orlando as well already at 3-3. Where's the fan base? What's your sense of the fan base? Maybe not the message board fan base or the Twitter fan base, but the fan base supportive of Coach Rich Rod through 6.
I think the majority of the fans are, because they understand it's a rebuild. They understand it's going to take time. There is a segment of the fan base, like you mentioned, that is just, thinks he's never going to get it fixed. But most of those fans didn't want him back in the first place. You know what I mean? But I think the majority of fans understand that it's going to take time. We didn't think it would be as ugly as it's been, but we did think it was going to take, a couple, maybe 3 years to get this thing where he wants it to be.
Kuz, last time West Virginia came to town, traveled really well. I think you were actually at the game yourself.
Yes.
And so a ton of blue and gold in the stands. Any insight on traveling this weekend? How many West Virginia fans do you think may make the trek down to Orlando?
Ironically, I normally have a good feel for that, but for whatever reason, this week through my social media scrolling, I have not noticed a whole lot of chatter about that. So it's kind of an unknown. I know when you and I talked earlier in the week, you mentioned like you're hearing some things about West Virginia fans traveling, but I honestly up here, I've not heard a whole lot about it, but I do know there is a large contingent of West Virginia fans in the state of Florida. So I expect a lot of them to be there. And then, there might be a few West Virginia fans like I did a couple of years ago, make a vacation out of it and enjoy Orlando for a few days, So I wouldn't be surprised if you do see a ton of gold and blue in the stands.
Again, you and I had a chance to do a show for your podcast, Kuz's Corner. And I saw the title was, is this game a must win? So I'll ask you, Kuz, is this game a must win from the West Virginia perspective?
I think from the fans' perspective, it is, because we feel like, when you look at both these teams are mirror images of each other. Both are struggling. You look at the other teams on West Virginia's schedule, don't see a ton of wins there. We feel like this is a game, it is winnable. And if you don't get this one, then where does the win come from? And that's not trying to be disrespectful to UCF at all. It's just looking at where the program is, right? They're in a similar spot as West Virginia. Most of the other programs are, 2-3 years out as far as a rebuild. So I feel like this is a game that West Virginia needs to win if they have any hopes of salvaging this season. So from a fan's perspective, it is a must win. Technically for the team, probably not, but I think for the fans, it kind of is.
It seems like similar talking points. What we've been saying all week.
Yeah.
UCF has not fared well against West Virginia. Never beat them on the football field. For West Virginia to get a win, leave Orlando with a victory in that must win, as you called it, and the fans have called it, what has to happen?
West Virginia has got to establish a run game of some sort, something they've not been able to do We've had a few flashes out of the out of the quarterback position. Rather, we did have one good running performance out of Ty Edwards against Pitt, but unfortunately, he's now on the shelf for who knows how long. So they've got to be able to O-line's got to block better. Running backs have to find some creases and try to make some plays in the run game, because if they don't, I'm just not sure how this offense with a young quarterback that's likely going to, have some ups and downs throughout the game. Where do you get your offense if you can't run the football? So I think they've got to establish the run game to have any success at all, or any chance to win the game.
Skip ahead to men's basketball preseason. Coaches poll out. West Virginia projected 11th. Fair to you? I mean, what does it mean in the Big 12? Everybody's so good and so bunched up, but does that seem fair to you?
I think it's really fair. I mean, I honestly was expecting it to be lower. The fact we're breaking in for the second year in a row, an entirely new roster, entirely new coaching staff. So I think that shows that they respect Ross Hodge as a coach, to be honest. I know 11 is not high by any means, but we're not 16th or 15th or 14th even. So I think it's fair because, when there's so many unknowns and so many question marks, it's hard to rate them much higher than that, in my opinion. So I think it's more than fair. But now the players probably look at it differently, but I hope they do. But right, use it as a talking point, as a chip on your shoulder. But I think 11's about right.
Tell us about your show and your coverage of West Virginia athletics.
Yeah, I cover West Virginia Mountaineer football, basketball, occasionally touch on a little bit of women's basketball over at Kuz's Corner. Also have written content over at wvsportschat.com. As Adam mentioned, I'm also part of the 365 Sports newsletter every week. You can find my work there as well. Come check us out, Kuz's Corner on YouTube.
Kuz, I've never asked you this. Why is your show called Kuz's Corner?
I in the 7th grade, I was given the nickname of Bob Cousy for something I was doing on a basketball court, and it just stuck, man, over the years. And my friends shortened it to Kuz, and here I am.
That's not a bad nickname. That's
30 years later, I guess.
And you're out of eligibility there too, right?
I am. Yeah. I still ain't figured out if they were making fun of me because I look like an old man out there, or if I was doing something cool. It doesn't really matter at this point in my life, but the Kuz nickname stuck, man. So.
Well, we appreciate you spending some time with us talking West Virginia football here on Sons of UCF Live.
Thank you for having me on. It's been an honor.
Thanks,
Chris.
Chris.
Talk to you again soon.
Yes.
They sound like similar teams, don't they? As he was describing their situation, I thought he's talking about UCF.
It's the Spider-Man meme. It literally feels like almost mirror images of each other on Saturday. You got to hope UCF being at home maybe helps a little bit, but it's very similar as he shares more about the team and what their struggles are and where they've kind of had challenges. It's very recognizable if you're a UCF fan. So go follow Kuz. Kuz he's a good egg. He does good work over there for West Virginia.
And you were on his show earlier in the week.
Can confirm. Yes, I was on a show.
Yeah. And let's give some credit, as Scott Frost did during his Monday media availability, to Coach Rodriguez and the staff for sending along cards and greetings to UCF following the passing of Coach Sean Clark. That was a touching moment, as shared by Coach Frost.
Yeah, Kuz actually shared on our interview together that Coach Clark has some ties to West Virginia, so somebody that area of the country knows really well too, and just kind of speaks to the way Coach Rodriguez wants to kind of rebuild that program too. So a lot of class, and you could tell that meant a lot to Coach Frost, and I'm sure it meant a lot to a lot of different people in the UCF building. So I'm sure there'll be some emotional moments on Saturday when Coach Rodriguez and Coach Frost meet and kind of chat in midfield, but definitely shows the class of that West Virginia program.
Well, both schools seem to be calling it a must-win. One will get their first win in Big 12 play, and we were talking about it on Sons of UCF shows all week long.
Yeah, I'm bummed that I won't be able to be there and won't be able to watch that night slate with you.
Yeah, but, so if you were, Bailey just doesn't want to go to the game. If UCF had won a few, maybe he would go.
So now I have to explain myself. I don't know.
This is kind of my way of forcing you to explain yourself because you have a very good reason for missing the game.
So I'm going to go with wide receiver Dwayne Thomas. 26 catches leads the team. Of course, he has no touchdowns. 2 is the team lead. Make your case, Elo. Who would be the MVP? You watching? Who is it? I don't see one on this team so far.
I didn't even know Dwayne Thomas had 26 catches. He's on my fantasy team. How am I in last place?
He's got no touchdowns.
Well, that's why I'm in last place. Thank you.
And you're sticking with Miles Montgomery as offensive MVP.
I it's not a lot of options here, Trace.
I know.
Look, I think he runs hard. I think he's certainly the heart and soul of this team. I'm sure the stats probably aren't where they want him to be, but I think he's a guy that he's doing the best he can do. And I think with everything that's there, I think he's probably the lead player. So at this point, kind of the best of the options available to me. I wish Jaden Nixon has more big play ability. He just hasn't been on the field as often as Miles Montgomery. So I'm gonna go Miles Montgomery for offensive MVP 6 games into the season.
All right, here's a question for you without any context at all. What is a better number to you, 2 or 32?
I think 2.
2 is the correct answer, because if you were preseason projection in men's basketball at 1, let's say Houston, and if the women were also projected for Houston to be 1 and 1 is 2. So the worst number is 32 because you've been projected 16th in the men's and 16th in the women's. Total UCFs, 14 for the men, 16 for the women. That's 30. That is not the number. That's not the number you want.
I was told there'd be no math in this in this experience.
A little bit of math. We had UCF Media Day on Monday, where we got to know some of the players, and as well head coach Johnny Dawkins talking about the kind of team he's needed to build as he's gotten to understand the Big 12 better.
So we found that we were, one of the smaller teams in our conference physically over the last several years. So we tried to, get a little more length, a little more physicality to face the teams that we have to play against, throughout the league play. You get beat up pretty good in this league. It's very physical, and I think that's took its toll on us the last couple of seasons. So we tried to size up in some of our positions, get a more length, a little more weight. And I think that's been a positive thus far, early in the preseason. So I'm hoping that continues to carry over, just having the size to match up on a nightly basis in this conference.
I got to be honest with you. I was a little disappointed by 14th. I don't know anything, right? I don't know anything about these players, the rest of the league, but the coaches are the ones that put together this poll. And I was hoping for a little bit high. Like, I'd have loved 11, like West Virginia's at. I'd have been like, ooh, 11. But 14 seems like less than 7 league wins.
Maybe you've been in the moonshine today, Trace.
You ever had moonshine?
Not that I'm aware of, no. But I got to listen. If Kuz ever comes back down to Orlando, I feel like that's the guy you want to hang out with. I feel like, or we should go up there to see him. I feel like there's some stuff going on that Kuz could teach us about, I think, around those parts, Trace. But look, I don't know why you would think they'd be any higher than where they are, right? This just is such an unknown team. And do you really think the coaches are paying that much attention and really grading rosters out? So I think it's just a similar of like, hey, UCF hasn't been good so far, and they got a whole new squad again, and arguably their best player, Darius Johnson's not on the team anymore, and Keyshawn Hall's not on the team anymore. So I think it's probably just easy math, stick UCF at 14 and hope for the best.
So the Knights face Duke in North Carolina on Tuesday in an exhibition. Wednesday, their Big 12 Media Day in Kansas City. They will be bringing Devin Cambridge, Themis Fulks, and Riley Kugel. Get to know all these names. We were at Media Day. The Suns intern army has all of the interviews, and you're going to be rolling those out over the next week or so. Is the plan?
It is now. Now that you just signed me up for it. Yeah, no, we'll have interviews obviously with all the different players. Get to know some of them obviously, as this is a brand new roster. So our gift to you all is we will introduce you to all of the players who will be taking the court for the Knights this year that you can root on. Again, you can see the path. If you look at the roster, look at the size. You can. I hate to do the hopium thing. Kuz says moonshine will make you twitch. I kind of feel like I'm drinking some moonshine here because you can see the building blocks where if Johnny can hit on some of these guys. You could see maybe where you sneak up a little bit, but if you rewind the tape to a year ago at this time, I said the exact same thing. So I don't really know. Maybe I just need some more moonshine.
The defending crown runner-ups, UCF in action Tuesday at Duke. I was in the arena on Monday. I did not see any sort of banner up. I imagine there might be some sort of ceremony before the first game or the exhibition game. I'm looking forward to that. 9-9, you feel good that gets you on the fringe of the NCAA tournament. 9-9, right? Forget wherever they're ranked there, but 7-11, you're going to be on the outside. 8-10 is tough unless some of those 8 are really, really good wins. But 9-9, And
Yeah,
you
9-9 gets you on the
ticket.
doorstep of the party. I think if you can go 9-9, I think you're in the driveway waiting to see if they open the door to the party for you. But anything after that, I think it's a tough road for the Knights. And again, Big 12 basketball's. I know SEC had a really good year last year, but Big 12 basketball is typically the best conference in the nation. So 9 wins in this conference. Woo! I will need more moonshine.
Well, right, back-to-back 7-win seasons for UCF. I think there were 7-11 the first season, 7-13 in the second season. Competitive games, but can they get over the hump? Can they just a couple more wins, 2 more wins? And that's all. Just the quest for 500. Shooting for 6-6 in football, 9-9 in men's basketball.
Way too distracted on moonshine here. Someone's backyard is the best place to get your moonshine, Trace, according to Coos. I need more details on this. Well,
I'm gonna need more.
I need more. I'm distracted now. I'm sorry.
We go around the kingdom with some news and notes. Volleyball beat West Virginia in their last matchup.
Take that,
3-0, 2-4 in league play. Now RPI of 43 though, so they're maybe in the NCAA tournament. ESPN out with bracketology for volleyball, and volleyball's in there. Maybe as an 11 seed. Next against Arizona on Friday at 6:00 over in the venue. Women's soccer, they like the draws lately. They drew 0-0 at Cincinnati. 2-1-3 in Big 12 play. RPI of 29, so that's got them in a good position for the NCAA tournament. At Oklahoma State, that's going to go on in a little bit, and then at Houston on Sunday. Men's soccer, they get the win over Bradley midweek. They are 2-2 in Sun Belt play, 47 RPI, so hanging around. I think it's been a pretty good fall so far for men's and women's soccer and volleyball at Old Dominion on Saturday. And baseball, their schedule release for the Big 12 has come out. First Big 12 opponent, March 13 through 15, Oklahoma State at home. They will travel to TCU March 20 through 22. You can also see them home against Arizona, Cincinnati, Arizona State, and Kansas State. So I know Michael Emptiness4 on Twitter, very happy about the release of the Big 12 schedule. Looking ahead to that. All right, time to open the mailbag.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Hi, fellas.
Now, remember that. I love that clip there of Scott Frost. Remember that as we get through the questions. The OG at Leo Sportive. Leo, I never expected to dominate the Big 12 immediately, he says. But why does it feel like asking for 6-6 and a bowl win is like begging for something attainable? 6-6 for this team shouldn't feel so out of reach. That's why this is a must win in the quest for those 6 wins.
Yeah, I mean, listen, UCF football this year has not made it easy on any of us, right? I mean, they're playing against the team and they're playing against themselves. And I joked on Twitter during the Cincinnati game, watching that offense is like trying to watch someone get out of a straitjacket. Like you don't know who to root for. You don't know what's going to happen. How did we get here? And I think that's kind of impacted this a little bit. But again, you're going to need to win this one on Saturday, right? Now you've got to your 4th win, and then you got to find 2 in the rest of that schedule. It's certainly going to be a bit of a challenge. I think I'm a hand up. I'm a 7-5 guy. That was my preseason prediction there. I'm not feeling good about that, unfortunately.
What do you think the mix is in the crowd? What do you think first of all, not going to be a sellout, right? But they'll announce 43-44. They always
they'll announce 44-206, which I think is the capacity there. Listen, I mean, if you go to that old Ticketmaster website, Trace, a lot of seats available. And I think some West Virginia fans are going to want to get down there. They dominated the stadium last
time. They're going
to
be in the cabana, aren't they?
And they're going to definitely be in the cabana. There's no doubt about that. So as long as they leave unhappy, I guess that's really all I care about. But I think you're going to see some blue and gold in the stands on Saturday.
All right, _Ed. Frost at the Monday presser seemed unexcited. I know he's a chill mellow dude, but is he rethinking his decision to get back into the meat grinder of college football? So you saw the wear over 6 games contrasted with a little upbeat demeanor at Big 12 Media Days from the clip on the open to the mailbag. No insights on that. I think he's just a cerebral kind of guy. I think he answers the questions. Not too much coach speak, and losing stinks. They're in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. They can't win in October, and that wears on you.
I'm just going to go off of what he's told us. He loves it here. He wants to raise his family here. He loves this community. This is where he wanted to be. So I'm going to go off what he told us. I guess for any of us out there, when your job sucks, do you walk into work every day like super chipper and happy? I'm sure some of that kind of weighs on him, and perhaps he'll look happier after win. But I will say this: I have been it's been surprising and interesting to see. I think even post game Cincinnati, he was asked a question about Coach Clark, and you could see the emotions kind of come back up. I think we forget he's dealing with a lot of stuff, a lot of things going on, probably off the field, on the field, that he's having to navigate for the first time. And so I'm sure a lot of that wears on you. And again, when things aren't going well at work, perhaps you don't walk in with a smiling face. So I don't think he's rethinking his decision. He might be rethinking some of the strategy and some of the ways that things have gotten there, and maybe saying to himself, hey, all right, gotta not do that again. But I don't think he's over there saying, hey, I kind of wish I was back doing X. I think not back doing whatever. I shouldn't have said that. I think he's happy here in Orlando.
Did you sense any bristling at the questions? He's getting peppered with questions about penalties. I mean, how can you not? They're decisive penalties in these games. They had 90 plays, held the ball for 40 minutes, had the 10 penalties, and managed to score 3 points through, 57 minutes of the game or whatever it was?
I think I'll use the word he used at a previous presser. I think he used the word frustrated like 3 or 4 times. So I sense a coach that's frustrated, that knows what the problem is, knows that it needs to be fixed, and it's just not getting fixed. And so there's no other way to answer the question when you guys say, hey, what's going on with the penalties? Shuck collars. There's nothing else he can say at this point, right? So I think he's as frustrated as maybe we all are, looking at things that are there, but he's trying to play with the cards he was dealt. Unless shock collars are an option, maybe Kuz can bring some moonshine. I don't know what the options are here, but I think he's just at this point probably at a frustration level with what he knows is bad and what I'm sure he's trying to fix, but just isn't getting fixed right now.
Yeah, good bet, bad bet. So do you buy into the idea of this team being tighter knit than prior years? I've heard Frost say it several times. Players have said it, but I question if it's true or just coach speak. I feel like it's legitimate. I haven't sensed anything off about that. We haven't heard of any opt-outs, right?
Yeah, I was going to say no opt-outs reported. Look, Nigel Lee Kelly, I think in his press availability said like, hey, this year we're not going to be pointing fingers at each other. It was unprompted. Nobody said, hey, Nigel Lee, did you guys point fingers last year? Yeah. It was unprompted. So I do think there's an element of this team that maybe likes each other, has a little bit more fun together. Now, look, it's more fun when you're winning. So I'm sure there's that's wearing on them. But I do get the sense that is legitimate, that there is a legitimate bond this team is forming, particularly, I think, in the aftermath of Coach Clark's death. Sometimes you kind of, I hate to use this phrase, you kind of trauma bond with people who are going through something similar. Nobody else in the country can understand what it's like to lose a coach midseason like the guys in that locker room. So that perhaps brings them a little bit closer together. But I do think it's a legit bond. Now, I'd love to see that bond on Saturday, block a couple people and get some touchdowns. But I do think the bond is legit.
At Scott M. Star on Blue Sky, was it part of the game plan to have Cam hold the ball for 5+ seconds before making a decision to scramble and throw the ball? Can someone way smarter than me explain why the dude holds the ball so long? Do guys get open? And Cincinnati dropped everybody back. I think 11 different guys caught passes, but who's the standout wide receiver? I mean, I like Dwayne Thomas. I don't know if he's the MVP. I don't know that anybody is so far through 6 games, but nobody has really seized control as the wide receiver.
Yeah, I had a chance to ask Latavius this as well. Again, found that at Nights247, and he kind of said a couple things. One, that may tell you that a receiver doesn't trust, or a quarterback doesn't trust his receivers, right, and not willing to make that throw. And 2, we don't know the play call, so perhaps the progression is getting sped up, and he's feeling pressure and trying to kind of get out and do something. I do think he holds on to the ball a little bit, or if his first read doesn't pop, I think he's more inclined to tuck and run, ergo the 20 rushing attempts. And so I do think there's an element of that, but I think it's probably a lot of different things involved. Offensive line, trusting receivers, is the route open? Is Cincinnati or whoever playing a defensive coverage they expected? And I think all that kind of calculates up, and he quickly goes, let me get out of here and run for a couple yards.
At UCF Mayor with the provocative question, if you could have JRP back at quarterback right now, would you say yes?
I would not.
Whoa.
And here's why. With this offensive line, he wasn't any more durable than anybody on this team has been.
He'd have been knocked out already 2 times, 3 times.
I don't like. Yeah. I mean, good kid, and obviously a tremendous athlete. But I don't know that he would have stood up against what he's faced right now too. So I think he would be as injured as the other quarterbacks. He wasn't somebody that was super durable in his time here. So I don't know that it really mattered much.
at Knights with a 1 there instead of the I. Can we all agree the O-line just not gelling? No, it's been tough this season, but I think they'd be better just to line up and hit the man in front of them. And now perhaps no Paul Rubelt. It was who's the previous O-line coach? Herb Hand. Tried to keep the same guys there. They've been moving a lot of different guys. Maybe after 6 games, you just got to settle on some guys and just go with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm also curious again. I wish I was in the building and understood, but are you simplifying plays more? Are you asking guys to pull and pin and do other stuff, or are you keeping it very basic and then your blocking schemes? I don't know what they want to do. I don't know what they've tried to do. I don't know what they can do, but I got to imagine there's enough smart football minds in that building that they probably understand their line's weaknesses and are trying to figure out ways to help them play better. And if that just hasn't happened yet, or there's just not a magic elixir there, that I don't know, but you would wonder at some point if they're not better served sticking with 5 specific players and being a little bit more basic or a little bit more generic in terms of what they ask those guys to do.
Well, I think Frost indicated that a little bit, right? That they needed to be a little less creative, which is funny, right? Because he had said in a previous week that they maybe needed to be a little more creative when they had the goal line stops against Kansas.
Patrick brings up a good point too. Carter Miller, I believe he is a natural center, Patrick, but I mean he had a couple of bad snaps on Saturday, right? So it just feels like some of the basic stuffs one after the other. Stuff's not a word. Basic stuff that just seems to continue to jump back up and bite the Knights.
And Mr. Matt Dolan, anyone buying Peacock subscription to watch Kansas at UCF men's basketball? You got one?
I might actually have Peacock because I have Xfinity for my internet, so I may have that as part of the deal. I need to check on that. NBA is going to be on Peacock. I believe there's an NFL game coming up sometime that's Peacock exclusive.
So this is the time to get it and then drop it. Maybe.
Terrible name for a streaming service, by the way, Peacock. If we're all being honest with ourselves, but I do think there may be some need for it.
Logo.
There's a lot of logos that don't need to have names to them, Trace. Just call it NBC Plus. Everybody else does that.
At UCF Guy 1203 on Blue Side. How can we find out what basketball scrimmages will be televised? What channel? UCF Duke is on AC. Now, I don't know how to get to that. It's on ACC something. I think they've updated the TV schedule for that game, at least on the UCF schedules, but I don't have the ESPN app, that new super app. You know what I do? I message Eric Lopez. I go, Elo, how am I going to find this? And when I have to hunt around for it, I'm done with it. If I've got to do too much work, if I got to log into things and ESPN3 is the one I don't get. I don't know why I need that.
It's saying it's available on the ACC network on ESPN.
So that should be in my ESPN Plus.
Well, hold on. What is this? I think it says ACC network and there's an X next to it. I don't know what the X stands for.
See, now what is that?
I don't know what the X stands for.
Elo. Message me. How do
Elo help
prepare
us.
Me now for Tuesday?
Tuesday, LSU game says ESPN Plus. It looks like regular ESPN Plus on Sunday the 26th at noon. Though football NFL's on, but
is that at noon on Sunday? Is that?
It says noon on Sunday, friends.
All right. At Brian W. Peterson, we'll wrap it up. How do the gold pants look in person? Brian asked. They look fine. They look fine. I mean, they were good. I like gold pants. Gold shirts, gold pants. I'm good. I'm good with gold.
Any chance you've ever worn gold pants?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, you knew the answer to that.
I did. I just wanted to ask.
No.
Just here for anarchy, Trace. That's really all I'm here for right now.
All right. It's my turn for what's in the box.
It's going to have to be
by Alumni Hall.
This one's all tapped out here, but Alumni Hall not tapped out. All the Knights gear that you would want. I think it's fans' choice this Saturday. So get to Alumni Hall.
What does that
get
mean?
Your stuff.
Fans'
Wherever
choice.
you want, Trace. Wherever you wear your gold pants if you want to, but go buy them from Alumni Hall, 4100 North Alafaya Trail, alumnihall.com. Search for UCF, and you can get some great gear. 2 for $38 champion shirts at all times.
I've been researching would you rather questions because you like that kind of stuff.
When you say research, what does that mean?
I've been looking things up.
God, I need your browser history. Okay, continue. Continue.
That's funny.
I need a subpoena, but JP Gilbert, give me a subpoena. Stat.
Would you rather team up with Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel?
What are we doing?
I don't know. That was the way the question was phrased. The answer is Gal Gadot. That's the answer.
This is situational. It really depends on what I need to accomplish in my moment in time. What would you say the strengths of both of those two are? If you had to, what's the signature strength of both?
Wonder Woman's tremendous. That lasso, I love her. Again, I just see her as Gal Gadot. I don't really think of her as Wonder Woman.
Well, I think we got our answer. I don't.
Yeah, that's my answer. I'm not big on Captain Marvel. I don't
Linda
know.
Carter.
That movie was terrible. Captain Marvel. We don't need Captain Marvel. I don't know
what that is. ACC Network Extra Digital.
What does that mean, Patrick? ACC
Patrick
Network
Nurse.
Extra.
He was scared to look that up, by the way. Troy, too many X's for his liking on that. So he was.
So how did you answer the question? Did you say Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel?
I'll go Wonder Woman. It feels like that's what you think. Well,
it doesn't.
That's what you think.
I wouldn't say it doesn't make me right, but it's clear.
What do you think Kuz would say?
I don't know.
I kind of wish he was in the chat still. I kind of don't know what Kuz would have said.
What's so you've never had moonshine, any sort of grain alcohol in your past, present, future?
I know a Fed when I see one. I don't think so. What do you consider great, like Everclear?
Well, I don't know what that proof is. When I was an exchange student during high school in Ecuador, I had 180 proof grain alcohol. Oh, takes the enamel off your teeth. Jeez, it's tough.
There's a lot to unpack at that question, but let me. I forgive me for noticing the legal drinking age is not high school. I assume there were different.
No, there was no
Ecuador?
drinking age. There's no drinking age in Ecuador.
Do whatever you want. Okay.
Yeah.
And why was there an opportunity for you to dabble in 180 proof beverages? Like where were these at? Are these on the
cultural exchange?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. When in another country, you honor the customs and the different things that go on there.
Yeah. You think Kuz has been in Ecuador?
I don't know. Is he still in the?
He's not in the chat. No, I was hoping he was in the chat. He had some. He had a bit of a plumbing issue with the house earlier. He may be fixing that. So
that happens.
Yeah. I'm not being a square, Matt Dolan. I'm just trying to understand more about Trace Trelko. Again, you all out there, peel the curtain back. You as much as you see Trace and I together, we don't spend that much time together. So these moments are moments I get to learn about my good friend Trace Trelko, because these are not conversations we're having any other point. This is the only time this stuff comes up. So I need to ask these questions when I have the opportunity to do so.
Right. I mean, we message back and forth multiple times a day.
Never about Ecuador. Never. I'll do a search. I don't think Ecuador has shown up in our chat. Kuz has now shown up in our chat. I don't think Ecuador has ever been there.
Have we talked your daughter into going to Spirit Splash? What's the status of that situation?
Big TBD. I have not spoken to her. She may be talking to my wife currently. Big TBD.
I need her to go out and get a duck.
Big TBD.
Even if she's not diving in, just be out there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she wants to take in the sights and sounds. Is anybody covering that for the Suns? Are we going to have anybody there? Should I ask you this off air?
I will tell you, I have not put into motion any sort of plan for coverage of that. To have plans to be covering Hall of Fame ceremonies though.
You make Troy happy. Matt Dolan. Matt Dolan.
I agree with Matt. Your daughter's got to go. Even she didn't have to dive in the water or anything. But,
listen, I'll do what I can. I can't. Can't demand her to.
Can I put in, if she were somehow to get 2 ducks, might I claim the second duck? Do you think I'd be on the short list of people if she were giving away a second duck?
There was that bullying thing that went on for a while.
No.
I think has scarred her a little bit.
No. That, first of all, never happened. Second of all, long time ago when it didn't happen.
Yeah. No, you two have been more amicable.
Yeah. No.
Last several. I do feel bad. One. What day was it? It must have been the North Carolina A&T game. You and I were at Burger U. A bunch of people were there, and I was sitting having a good conversation with Coach Lounsbury.
You can always have a good conversation with Coach
Addison was at the table with me for that. Yeah. I had to get up to use the restroom. I left Addison there with Coach Lounsbury for a good 10 minutes, and she was like, "Hey, thanks for leaving me with your friend here." And I was like, "Coach Lounsbury, salt of the earth." So Addison and Coach and he may get the second duck, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, no, I would be I'd be a little hurt. I would. I mean, I'm no offense to Coach Lounsbury, but if Addison gave a duck the second, I mean, the odds, of course, of all of this happening with 2 ducks, it seems. I just would like to be on a short llist for the second duck.
You're on a lot of short lists. I don't know how many. There's a Gal Gadot short list. I think you just appeared on earlier tonight.
Wonder Woman. Needs to be a sequel.
Donut,
Anyway.
you can donate. Yeah.
No. I don't want to. I like that duck because somebody gave it to me, but I'm not paying. I don't want to pay.
Over under the amount of people who get the Max Headroom reference here.
I get that.
I know. Very few of us are going to get that reference.
Yeah, I love Patrick. I love
see
the
that.
references. Yeah. All right. Safe travels, Adam. Back to Central Florida for homecoming. I want to thank Alex for being with us. Congratulations to him. Coos for giving us the insight on West Virginia, and for all of you for being with us on this week's Sons of UCF Live. For Adam Eaton, I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
I'm Cade Kincaid, the 71st Mountaineer mascot at WVU, and thank you for watching the Sons of UCF. Let's go Mountaineers!
It's the only mascot you can interview.
Who's this guy?
At Big 12 Media Days.
How did he infiltrate with a Go Mountaineers?
And stay with Sons YouTube for 8 scintillating minutes of conversation that I had with Cade Kincaid.
Now I got to post that. Thanks for that.